On this episode of AV Week, the lasting impact of a virtual InfoComm. LG gets into the cinema display business and how museums can leverage AV to create safe, exceptional experiences. All that and more. Next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 462, recorded Friday, June 26, 2020. AV tells story.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by QSC, who invites you to go native with the QSys audio, video, and control ecosystem. And by Vadio, makers of the new NDI professional broadcast camera, the RoboShot 30E NDI, with simultaneous HDMI and full NewTek NDI streaming.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week. First and foremost, he is known as an industry pundit. His name is Mr. Brad Grimes. You know him and love him. How are you, sir?
Good, Tim. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. From the far west coast, which doesn't have any clue what they're doing with COVID-19, USC's very own Mr. Joe Way.
Hey, thanks so much, Tim, for having me on.
Absolutely. And a young man that I just got the pleasure of meeting today for the first time, sort of virtually, Eugene Ababio from Art Media. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tim, for having me today.
Absolutely. First story comes to us from AV Network and our buddy Cindy Davis, who is still editing my stuff, at least on Twitter, if you follow her or me on Twitter. The Annenberg Space for Photography recently upgraded their Experience Center with QSys Core, the Samsung Wall Micro LED technology. That replaced a 13-foot rear projection glass screen. Just real quickly, I have a soft spot in my heart for rear projection glass screens. I just think they're sexy, just personal, right? Cindy, in her reporting and talking with the folks at this facility, they thought it made their images look flat. Now, a place that is known for photography and for video and for motion pictures and stuff like that, we can agree to disagree on that. But what I want to do here is talk about this move for that museums and other spaces like it, right? Whether it's the Air and Space Museum, it's the Smithsonian, or it's this Annenberg place. Joe, I'm going to start with you on this. What are museums doing, or what can museums doing currently, and other spaces like it, to enhance the experience when it comes to, whether it's micro LED like the Samsung, it's immersive audio, it's something like maybe the Dolby Atmos system, which if you haven't experienced it, it's a complete surround sound system, including above your head and behind you. What can museums do to bring people back in after this crisis is over?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a yes and on all of those. And it's interesting because we have two buildings on campus with the name Annenberg, so this is a very good article for us. And the thing is they're actually leading buildings in creating an experience when you show up, right? When we do want to go out and we do want to come back, we need to have a little extra. I don't want to keep saying experience, but you do. I mean, I think of places like the Artec House in New York, where everything is fully immersive, where the video continues around you, where when you actually show up, that your device can become your additional experience in with the room, that you can get your information that way, that you can be able to get the audio of whatever is going on. The days of just a basic, here's the painting, here's a picture of whatever it is we did, are going to be gone. And they have to be. And I completely agree with you with the projection too. I mean, that's classic stuff. But I think that when you have our new generation, if you're not actually being able to take that information and give it to them and let them absorb it in the way they want to, whether it be with their device or their own perception and in whether visual, sound, everything, you're not going to pull the numbers. People are just not going to come back.
Yeah, Brad, Joe makes a good point about this next generation coming up. My kids, I think my kids are officially Zoomers, or maybe they might be a generation beyond that. These are folks who grew up with cell phones and mobile technology. This is the generation, a lot of smart people, smarter than me, have said, that will really grasp the augmented reality and the virtual reality even more so than Gen Xers or millennials did. Is that what Joe's talking about, where we're making sure that not only safety-wise, it's our device, right? But the beauty of having a mobile technology and always with you is the fact that automatically lends itself to AR and VR. Is this where we see that technology kind of heading next for maybe its next frontier?
Yeah, that and so many other things. I mean, AV is like the greatest gift to the museum industry. I mean, a couple of years ago, museums were growing at a healthy clip. I mean, you would get hundreds of new museums opening all the time. And think about it, we're not always talking about big art museums. There are museums for a lot of different things. Every sports team has a museum now at their venue. Museums are everywhere because AV can tell stories. I mean, think of what's in museums. You see artifacts, you see, a suit of armor or something like that. AV can tell the story about that. And so that's why a lot of, museums were implementing them. Now, I say this, assuming that everything is going to go back to, well, not normal, but we're going to get back to museums. And unfortunately, museums are in a place right now where it's tough to get people in there. But, these types of things, augmented reality, audiovisual technology are, it's a renaissance for museums because it really lets them tell the stories of things that might not otherwise be telling a story on their own. And so I think it's a huge market for AV, and I hope it comes back as strong as it was before this all started.
Eugene, what other technologies are we not seeing? I mean, I mentioned the AR, VR, Joe did as well. But what other technologies are we maybe missing that museums and other spaces like that can leverage to really kind of get people back, but also make the experience a little bit more exceptional?
Well, in truth, that question is for the younger generation. I think a lot of us who are now, I might look young, but I've been in AV since the early mid '90s. So I've seen a lot, in terms of technological advancement through the years. But I think that question really is for the young folks because, in truth, we've been spending a lot of times indoors. We've been watching TV, streaming. My daughter here watches YouTube the entire day. Right. So she's essentially inundated with a lot of technology, a lot of good quality video, right, that unfortunately, these kids get to see within their homes and sometimes not be able to see within their schools. So I think that question really is for the upcoming generation. And in truth, we were talking about rear projection screen. Rear projection screen, as great as it is an old technology. Right. And I'm really excited about what's really going to come out of this COVID-19, right? A lot of people have been spending a lot of time at home. Now, a long time ago, I attempted to develop this streaming appliance for education and attempts to bring education online, right? And away from the, I guess this was an NYU project a long time ago when they wanted to bring education out of the classrooms and into the online space using, unfortunately, Polycom as their technology. And that didn't quite work out well. Maybe there are other technologies out there that maybe they skipped out on or didn't understand how to implement. But I think it's really being creative, right? It's finding those people who are creative, who can take the technology and take it to a new ground, a new level that's going to be able to walk into the museum spaces or the museum clients and say, hey, look, this is what I've been able to do with this technology and using it in a new way that we've never thought of before. And that's we're just kind of used to the old way of doing things right now, unfortunately.
That's a good point. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's interesting because I really like that idea of being able to take that and bring it in, even back with the AR and VR. If you think about museums, I've always been not necessarily a fan of, for example, in higher ed, doing AR and VR and all the Rs. Because I think that content is always the toughest thing. It's easy to sell it to, the donor on day one. Hey, let's put this big wall in, and then everyone forgets you got to change the content and keep it going. But museums are in the business of content, right? And if we can now take our technologies, and especially what you were just saying, Eugene, and be able to bring that in and allow those people who are good at doing content to supplement our technologies, I mean, that just sounds like a win-win in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think though, along with that, we may need to start looking into technologies that are being used in the retail market, right? There are specialized shoe manufacturers that are implementing projectors that are projecting information onto their shoes, their bags. And I've seen that kind of technology working in the museums very well. And I think perhaps we need to start also looking at other avenues because museums, it really is not about the technology, it's about the experience. And we have to find a way to remove part of the technology and offer more of the experience. And that's going to take a lot of creativity and a lot of exploring besides look at the projectors, look at LCD, look at, DVDs. I hate to say, but I do see, some people are still using DVDs in their spaces.
Eugene, at least you didn't say laser discs. That's all I'm going to say. All right. All right. Look it up, kids. It's an old technology. It's a big DVD. Just look it up. All right. Our next story comes to us from our buddy Craig McCormick and Commercial Integrator. Craig writes about InfoComm Connected, which just happened last week. He interviewed Avixa CEO Dave Labuscas about the lasting impact of a virtual show. Labuscas says you can look for Avixa to keep rolling out virtual events throughout the year. Mr. Grimes, I'm going to start with you on this. What do you think the lasting impact of InfoComm Connected and that virtual show is going to be on not just the industry, but also maybe even on the trade show industry?
Well, I think what it did, it was a great proof of concept. I thought it was very well produced. I thought it was very, I personally didn't have any issues going in and out of sessions or anything like that. There may have been glitches, and I'm sure some people, encountered things. Having been to a million InfoComm shows, I know that things happen at the in-person show as well. But that said, I thought it was very smooth. I thought it was really well produced. I thought Freeman did an outstanding job. Obviously, the InfoComm crew did too. So to me, it was very much a proof of concept. They hadn't done it before. We hadn't done something like that. And so that was great. Now, what it means for the future is obviously now that we know how it works and what we can improve on something like that, you can do it in different ways. That said, I don't believe it's the no-brainer that a lot of people are saying, well, geez, we've been asking for, streamed, sessions for years. I don't think it means you flip the switch and now everything is suddenly streamed. I think what it did also show was what we were missing. I mean, a lot of what I heard coming out of InfoComm Connected was, God, I wish this is great, but I wish we could see you all, and I can't wait to see you all in person in Orlando. There is a lot of that that goes into InfoComm every year. A lot of it is just being around the people, and a lot of the trade show business is about the in-person stuff. And at the end of the day, we want to go to someplace and see everything. InfoComm, Avixa wants us to come there, and all the exhibitors want us to come there too. And those are the ones that pay the bills and make it so that we can all gather once or several times a year if you go overseas. So it's not going to be suddenly like, okay, well, we're suddenly going to stream everything all the time. But I thought it was great that you could have an Asian program, or you can have programs, for different parts of the world. So I think that there will be, having proven the concept and been able to really deliver it, and I thought it was very impressive, it really just opens up a door of opportunities. They can find different kinds of hybrid approaches that will work, different parts of this throughout the year, get a taste of it. CES does it really well. They still do them in person. You have a sort of a pre-taste of CES in different markets. I mean, they could do things like that. So I think it was a great proof of concept. They delivered. I think that they did a great job with it. And there's just a lot of things that they can do with it. It's just another tool in the toolbox for getting the industry together.
Yeah, Eugene, Brad mentioned the fact that there are other areas that they can cover. They did cover pretty much the globe during last week's segments. They had folks that were on, not quite 24/7, but certainly outside of the United States' time zones. What other areas can InfoComm or Avixa rather and other trade associations be able to cover with some of these virtual events or maybe even hybrid events?
Well, the sky is really the limit, and unfortunately, people are dying from this COVID or coronavirus, disease. But what it has done is also allow us to explore technologies in a new way and to be able to essentially use what we have or the means that we have in front of us to try to reach out to as many people and or audience as much as possible. Now, let me just take a step back just for a second. The Zoom, interesting enough, one of my partners got a call a long time ago before anyone knew what Zoom was. And it was from the CEO of Zoom trying to give us a demo of this new platform. Now, of course, we didn't know what Zoom was at that time. You were selling Cisco's and Polycoms and what have not. So we weren't really, the only interest we had or the only thing we knew as far as soft-based conferencing was the Skype back then. And not a lot of people were happy with it. But years, moving forward, years later, look, we're on Zoom right now. So I think there's a lot of technologies out there and a lot of people to reach out to, and being digital just opens up a whole new avenue to being able to reach out to people. And honestly, when I first got my CTS, which was a long time ago, I looked at the C, the T, and the S, Certified Technology Specialist, and we are in the business of technology. And this is, giving us the opportunity to be able to utilize technology, to try to get to as many people or outreach, have this much larger outreach concept and a much bigger, net to cast out to as many people as possible. And so I think, it's the sky is the limit.
All right, very good. I like that. Mr. Wei, we'll wrap up here with you. What are some of the strengths and both the strengths and the weaknesses of an inherently virtual event or a virtual only event?
I want to say that I think they deserve huge kudos, InfoComm for pulling that off. And I will also say too, as co-founder of HETMA, we were virtual before it was cool. Okay. Let's get that out there. But also the thing is though, what people aren't recognizing is, for example, our HETMA conference the week before, AVIXA, partnered with us to bring the higher ed things that would have been at InfoComm in person to our show and allow people to attend them there. So they're doing a much bigger outreach than I think people are recognizing. That this isn't just about those 3 days, but this is actually about taking an entire industry and holding our hands through this time of COVID. They started with it when they, opened up all the classes months ago for free. Holding this, I think, to me, the advantage of, and Brad talked about it a little bit, what made InfoComm Connected great was the fact that there was a sense of normalcy for us to be able to go, I'm supposed to be at InfoComm this week. I know I'm not there in person, but I'm supposed to have the AVIXA logo put in front of my face every day. And that is what happened. And I think we all got okay, I'm back with my people. And that's the advantage, right? When you have a virtual conference, it's a little bit different than just webinar after webinar after webinar, which really is what it is. But it's about pulling things together for a common purpose, and I think they did a great job of that. I think the outreach across the globe was unique. I was surprised to see that. And I know, Tim, you've held your conference. I held mine. And the hardest part is the time zone thing. How do you make it fit for everybody, right? And that was the downside, right? And yet they seem to actually cover that well by having targeted sessions at the time zone that was appropriate at the time or where the people were. And I think that's something that everyone can learn from. I think that InfoComm, like Brad mentioned, we've all been saying for years, we can't all make it out to InfoComm. When are they going to stream for us? Well, surprise, they got it streamed for us this year. Maybe there will be an opportunity to continue down the road, even just in some hybrid fashion, because I believe that it's already started to create the community we all actually go to the conferences for in the first place.
Yeah, it's going to, I think Joe's right. I think it's going to evolve. It's not going to be, you'll have the June thing and then there'll be an online. It's going to have to evolve because as they've proven it, lots of people are proving it too. I mean, there are now conferences all over the place online. So content, cliche, is going to be king. I mean, you're always going to have. It's going to be thought out. It's not just hey, we've done it, we can do it, we'll just do it. There's going to be more. There's going to have to be more targeted, creative thought. I know that they've got a great team there that will look at it. But working with Joe's group or some other groups to do different types of content at different kinds of times of year, it's going to, again, since they've proven it that they can do it, now the creative thinking, starts.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Last story here comes to us from our friends over at AV Magazine. LG has entered the cinema display business almost 2 years after Samsung installed the very first Onyx in the U.S. and over 2.5 years since they installed the first one ever in South Korea. A theater in Taiwan has opened with a 14 by 7 meter LG direct view LED. Eugene, this is the second company to get into direct view LED for cinema. Is this where we're headed? What is the future of cinema display?
This is it.
This is it. Okay.
I mean, this is it. There's no question about it, right? We were just talking about old technology. I mean, this is it. Now, I'm not quite as optimistic about movie theaters and how long they'll be able to survive, because honestly, when was the last time you saw a commercial on TV for a new movie that was coming out in theaters, right? So I got a feeling that this is the new norm, and what I think this is they may have missed the boat already. All right. Where I see this more or less happening, again, going back to the previous story, is the museums, right? The use case is limitless, right? We've been used to seeing lines on much larger displays, right? When you walk into you walk in to see a lecture or what have you, you have lines in your image. I don't necessarily think this is the film industry is going to be the one to put this to use as much as everyone else. Right, because I don't think the film industry, or at least going to movie theaters, is going to honestly last much longer than it has been in the previous years.
All right, Joe. Eugene set you up very nicely with mentioning the lecture halls. So, is this where micro LED is headed and direct view LED is headed? Is the classroom? Is the big lecture halls?
It might be. I still think the price point is just way out of there, and and the resolution. I don't know. I saw this story, and am I the only person who thought, what a miserable experience that would have to be to watch on a big LED like direct view? Well, I don't know.
Hang on for a second. Hang on. Pause for a second. I have personally seen 2 movies on Samsung's Onyx, right? Not on the LG one, on Samsung's Onyx. Very, very impressive. Right, it's not a commercial. They ain't paying me nothing, but I've seen 2 separate movies on it, and very, very impressive for the Samsung one. Again, I have not seen the LG one.
Well, and I think because I just picture pixels being seen. I don't know why, but I'm assuming that they can get good enough that that's not the case.
Yeah.
But then I wonder what's the price point? Like you say, like can movie theaters even survive now? Nonetheless, what it's going to cost to start putting those in, and that's why they haven't hit our lecture halls yet. There are some spaces, and there are a lot of really nice higher ed locations that have these in their large lecture halls. I mean, Harvard HBX has it for their business school. It's beautiful. And again, the use case though is, showing a bunch of Zoom people or PowerPoints. So I just wonder, once you start going to, really, really high definition, movies and what you want, that's where I wonder about it. But I'm going to take your word for it. I kind of want to see it, but I just think like getting a suntan at the same time.
There is one close to you. The first one I ever saw was in LA. I'll try to find you the theater. That was the first one ever installed. The Samsung one. Again, I have not seen the LG one. The last one I watched Ready Player One about a year ago. And the blacks. I mean, it goes back to the whole my love affair of plasma. blacks are black. I mean, that's the thing is you can't, when it comes to a reflective technology, back to my CTS, Eugene, my CTS test, you can't get dark. You can't get the contrast there. And with a direct view LED, you really, really can. Yeah. Very impressive. Mr. Grimes, go ahead.
I think that I remember, 4 or 5 years ago when Sony had theirs on display. It was huge. It was one of the biggest one I've seen. And back then the quality was impressive. I don't think any manufacturer is going to take on that endeavor and not come out, with something extraordinarily, superb. And so it's just no way. It's too costly, as you said, Joe, to, number one, sell it. And for you to actually manufacture it and have a crappy piece of product, I don't think anyone is going to be interested in doing that. Now, that being said, it is true. It is very expensive. And I don't think that the education, the educational market is really where their target is going to be or where they'll eventually land. There are a lot of fintechs that are very excited about this kind of technology. I mean, Google is not one of those, but, I would imagine that Google, Facebook, and a bunch of other media companies would love to have this in their hands. But I agree. I think it's just way too expensive for the education market. And but nonetheless, it really is a great technology. Unfortunately, with the film industry or movie theaters, that book is closed.
Yeah, it does look, although here in at least in the Midwest, AMC is the big movie theater here. Chain, and they are saying they're opening up sometime next month as of right now. So we'll see where they go.
I'm excited.
We'll see. I'm
not excited about AMC opening up. I'm excited. Yeah. I think this technology. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
You were going to loft the ball to me. No.
Yep.
It's so this is so I say this, again with the disclaimer. Things will get better, and there will be a reason to go to movie theaters again. Maybe there won't be as many movie theaters. And so you'll have fewer movie theaters that need to have new experiences and draw more people. To me, this kind of technology, as Tim alluded to it, I mean, it's like looking at an enormous television in your house, but this type of technology is going to need really smart AV people to make it work, to unearth the possibilities. I mean, let's see, if you don't need the projection room in the back, what do you want to do with that space, right? Maybe there's something else we can do. So you can social distance or whatever else you want to do in that space. You don't need the lights out all the time, right? Because it's direct view LED. So what else can you do in that space? Sure, some people are going to sit there and watch the movie, but what else can you do in this big space with the lights on that will also attract people to the theater? The sound is different. You can't put the speakers behind the screen. So there's going to need to be innovation and professionals who understand how sound reaches the ear to figure out how to optimize that experience. So, when Avixa first started doing some of their big IOTA market research, the analysts were really hot on this. Now, this was, of course, a few years ago before lots of things have happened. But for me, it's sort of exciting. This is like good modeling clay for our industry. What else can we do? All the post-production facilities, they're going to need, direct view LED screens so that they can see their product before it goes into an LED theater. That's all business. So sorry, I was a little pumped up there. I'm not actually the person who has to deliver any of those solutions, but there's an opportunity here, provided everything else that's going on in the world starts to come back, and theater operators or next gen theater operators or next gen entertainment operators are looking for ways of attracting people to see great experiences on big screens. And oh, by the way, in this corner there's the bar and it's open the entire theater. It's open during the entire movie, and over in this corner there's something else going on, and you can mingle and you can go over here to watch the movie. So I just think there's a lot of opportunity here with this technology. Yes, it needs to come down in price. Everything does. When it will, hopefully it comes down in price. Hopefully all the things come together, it comes down in price. People start going out to movies. People start producing movies in these formats. Yeah, I think there's a good opportunity here for this industry.
So Brad, I don't think you have anything to be apologized for what you just said. What you were basically doing is opening up the door to what we are essentially talking about. And the common thread to all of these three topics is innovation. We are in the business, we are technology people. And I do think that we do need to get involved in some aspects of innovation. I do think we've held on to the older technologies for far too long because you know what? The truth is, it's our bread and butter, right? It's what we know to do and we can do it very well. A lot of us can do it with our eyes closed. But when I started out in the sound engineering field a long time ago, one of my first teachers told me that, look, when you start to get bored and it's no longer fun for you, you need to get out. Right. So part of what we are doing is fun. Right. And we got to have fun with what we're doing. Otherwise, it's great. We feed our families, but, it's no longer fun. And what you are describing is fun. Right. You were excited because you were having fun expressing your ideas and new concepts. And how do we do this? How does this, change the real estate in the, movie theaters? And what can we do with the real estate now, now left behind? So I do think, again, the common thread through all of this is innovation. How do we come back from this COVID? And how do we come back stronger? Can we go back to the norm? Can we go back to the old technologies? People have different experiences now. Those who were not, used to staying home now have stayed home and they've seen things in different ways. Now they want more. So how do we give them the more? How do we bring them into a new environment? I think these are the kind of conversations. Now that we are kind of, quiet a little bit, our minds are a little less, quiet, and we don't have projects that are on fires to put out. Now we can kind of spend that time thinking about how do we come back even stronger. And I think it's on us, right? We're the ones that, again, understand the technology, understand the clients, understand how they're used. How do we merge them all into a great experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And what Eugene talked about there with the different, what do you do with the theater? The last one I saw was Star Theater, Star Cinema Grill in Houston, and there was a restaurant in the middle of it, but in the back where what should have been the projection room was actually the DSPs required to do just that, right? So this is where, you put your heavy lifting for the audio, because Brad's right. You can't, there is no acoustically transparent direct view LED. So you have to play a little bit of black magic with the audio. So it makes it sound like it's coming straight forward. So, all right, folks, that will do it for us. Thank you so much. Mr. Joe Way from USC. How do people find you?
You can find me on all the socials at Josiah Way, and of course at Higher Ed AV and HETMA. And by the way, I did Google on that theater you talked about here in LA, and I have heard about it. And then I've heard great things about it. So next time you're out, we will go watch a movie there and get fried chicken.
Next time I'm out. Well, the fried chicken place is courtesy of Mark Coxon. What was it called? Buttermilk?
Buttermilk, yeah.
Buttermilk chicken. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's something else. Yeah, if you're in Orange County, go to it, seriously, if they're open. So, Mr. Grimes, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
And how do people get a hold of you if they are so inclined?
If you want to find me, I lurk on the Twitter at BGrimesDC. Hit me up there, and then you can find all the other ways you can call me.
All right, very good. Eugene, thank you, sir. Thanks for spending your Friday afternoon with us.
No problem, Tim. It was great to be here.
All right. And how do people get a hold of you or Art Media?
You can go on to our website, www.artmediacorp. All right. There is an Art Media, but I am not Art Media. I am Art Media Corp, as in corporation, .com.
All right. Very good. Artmediacorp.com. For me, don't go follow me on the Twitters at this point. Hockey's almost here, so we'll see. We'll see whether or not it shows up. But go by the website if you would, please. Our editor Lenore Lane and a bunch of really great folks did a lot of work on the brand new site, so check that out. AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others, including our other weekly. Matt Scott takes a look at the residential side of the AV industry, and a ton of monthlies, including our brand new EdTech that actually just posted today. So you check that out. Also, sign up for the new newsletter. Again, Lenore is working on that, so check that out. You can every Monday she gives you kind of the latest greatest news and podcasts that we're doing. So check that out. Also, while you're there, check out our underwriters, our supporters. These are the folks who help us financially, help us bring you AVWeek and ResiWeek and all other good stuff. So all that and more at AVNation.tv. It's AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have for AV Week.